Hello everyone, today's video is about detox. I have already talked about it quite a bit in the training and the masterclass. I remind you that the masterclass is a training course that was made for people who cannot come for various reasons to the retreats. We developed a complete training with practical aspects, the food, what to eat before and after. You have 16 hours of lectures. Today we are going to talk a little about detox. It is a summary, but we go much deeper in the training. Before talking about detox, in the news, we have the retreat that will start in 6 weeks, approximately in our Swiss summer retreat. It is already quite full. There are a few spots left, 2 or 3 spots maybe, for those truly interested in coming. Know that those who said that you have to prepare for dry fasting, yes. Know that if you have a nutrition that is correct and you do a food transition, you have a diet that is correct, you do not eat too much junk, carbohydrates, etc. The preparation can be quite fast in 1 week. For me, it is 1 week and I am ready. Afterwards, it depends on the level of clogging you have. If you are full of waste, toxins, it will be more complicated to prepare. Other news, the retreat soon in the mountains in Switzerland. Then there is an article that just arrived in the Viva Santé magazine. It is Dr. Reliquet who wrote a 12-page article on fasting. Very good article. He talks about dry fasting. A doctor dares to try it. I think he understood the power of our method. He speaks very positively. I don't know if he's tried it himself. Anyway, good article. I think it's a private paid magazine. We will be invited, I think, on his channel soon for an interview. Very positive, very good article. I read it very well with a doctor's eye. I do not think he practices fasting. Anyway, the article is well written. It explains the physiology well. I find it interesting. That's it for the news. We are going to talk about our dry fasting detox. Know that dry fasting currently is a method of rest. It is a method of awareness. It is a method of regeneration, of restructuring, of detoxification. Dry fasting is currently a method of working on oneself too. There are many things that will emerge. We will focus today on this detox. Dry fasting is number 1 on cleaning, physiological cleaning, but also we will see it, we will talk about the emotional level. Why do some people feel tired when their blood tests are normal? Why do we have less energy than 20 or 30 years ago? Why, the older we get, the more energy problems we have, the more fatigue sets in. Why do some, after a dry fast, have crazy vitality for 6 months? We'll answer these. Our organism has a physiological, biological intelligence, which is extraordinary. We have capacities for resilience, for recovery, to push ourselves to our limits to achieve regeneration. Dry fasting offers all that. This intelligence works better when we give it time to repair itself. Fasting, dry is leaving space-time to be able to give the body time to do its work of clearing waste, toxins. It is not a fashion trend, it is not a recent invention. It is an adaptation mechanism that is thousands of years old. I remind you that all traditions have fasted. Fasting has been highlighted since the dawn of time. Fasting doesn't come out of a hat. Dry fasting has been little studied. We find dry fasting in some religions, but it has not been pushed too far for us to do experiments on that. That is why we are one of the few centers to do a lot of research and an update. We try to have a holistic method, therapeutic, where we acquire knowledge and improve it over years. The retreats people attend have no equivalent. It is the 2.0 method of fasting that you have in Russia. The Russians stayed on a physical mode. Even physically, they didn't look at the details. It lacks preparation, it remains with lucid things. It is something that worked, but is not finished. We have specialized in therapeutic dry fasting, and with a touch to make updates and question ourselves. We try to optimize every year. Every year we have optimizations. This year we have a new type of preparation that we improve over the years. Now we have something that is finished in preparation and exit. Back to our dry fasting. When we temporarily stop eating and drinking, we give the body a signal of information. External resources are gone, time to optimize internal function. We have biochemical work in phase as soon as we stop external inputs. Understand that our ancestors always had periods of abundance, scarcity, effort, and rest. Today we live in permanent abundance. Our organism is exposed daily to pesticides, microplastics, endocrine disruptors, PFAS, heavy metals, solvents, additives, pollution, atmospheric. There is also another form of pollution that we will perhaps touch on a few words, mental pollution. We receive thousands of pieces of information every day. Facebook notifications, Instagram, TikTok, all these Instagram networks, etc. Stress, constant demands. We have truly become an overfed society, mentally overstimulated on every level. Afterwards, the body spends most of its time handling these overloads. This creates physical and emotional waste that drains a lot of energy. How will dry fasting activate these detoxification phenomena? When we talk about detox, many immediately think of juice, that you need to take supplements. Admittedly, we have plants, we put some in the programs. I am not a fan of juices. For me, juices should be in small amounts. A Chinese doctor would say you are crazy, as juice brings cold into the body. In terms of insulin, it is still sugar. So juices, I'm not a big fan if one is moderate there. In it, it also contains many anti-nutrients. We must remain cautious when venturing into juices. It is not my school, but there are those who love it. Go by how you feel. True detoxification is already present in our organism. We already have a detox that happens automatically without effort. If we have a diet that is already good, not too much overload, and we do a 24-hour fast per week, we already get some detoxification. But even so, it is not optimum. The human being should go beyond 24 hours of fasting weekly. For me, it is 1 or 2 fasts yearly. Then you can choose a mode, dry or water, for those who want a less intense detox. Water fasting is not as strong, but it still has benefits. We cannot deny it. So detox happens intracellularly and extracellularly. It affects basic parts such as blood, the lymph, and all interstitial fluids. Waste must be collected, transported, and eliminated. The liver is the largest chemical laboratory in the body. It transforms medications, alcohol, used hormones, pollutants, metabolic waste. During the fast, the digestive flow stops. There are no more enzymes. Dry fasting is total rest. There are no more digestive secretions. If you drink juice and water, you may still feel gurgling or hunger. After 24 to 36 hours, you have a total pause. This allows the body to focus on this cleaning and this regeneration in an optimal way. It is an integral fast. It is the most advanced fast you can find. It is the total cleaning, but you have to be ready. The big cleaning. Toxins are working hard. It is detoxing. You must be ready, having prepared or eaten correctly before starting. The liver is no longer busy processing. Food intake, a part of its resources can be reunited towards recycling and transformation. Another organ that comes into play is the kidney. It filters about 180 liters of liquid every day. It eliminates acids, metabolic waste, water-soluble toxins. When the digestive system rests, the body significantly reduces the production of waste from digestion. While fasting, your kidney rests and it has a job that is done in an appropriate way. Then the lymphatic system comes into play. It is the most underestimated detox organ, rarely discussed in naturopathy schools. Lymph is something super important. That is why we have an action. During cures, we have developed tools to stimulate this lymph. We have several devices and techniques. There are things that I do not explain on YouTube, but there are fundamental things to know when you research. You dry fast for the lymph because you must move your lymph. This lymph collects used proteins, cellular waste, immune cells, and inflammation mediators. When inflammation drops during dry fasting, which is true, dry fasting is currently the best anti-inflammatory therapy, more powerful than painkillers. It is a natural thing. As it drops during fasting, lymphatic circulation becomes efficient, more powerful. During dry fasting periods, you create a ringing of the lymphatic system that will feed the bloodstream. You wring out your lymph very significantly during dry fasting. The waste is really evacuated. Another shock absorber is the intestine. Fasting offers complete digestive rest, which allows you to hit pathogens if there is candidiasis, bacteria, parasites. You dry them out. They are usually in the small intestine or colon. This also helps regenerate the intestine, brush border, and enterocytes via stem cells. You perform a reconstruction. As soon as the fast stops, the exit. During dry fasting, a slight porosity sets in, which is quite normal. Afterwards, you solidify the whole intestine. This is crucial when ending a dry fast. We avoid carbs and kefir, unlike our Russian friends, to prevent intestinal inflammation. We do not take sorbents to activate transit. We do not do that. We use a targeted diet with few anti-nutrients, no sugary drinks. There is no compote. We pay very close attention to the refeeding phase. If you miss the refeeding, reconstruction is poor. You get fewer results on pathologies. I do not say that if you have a bad exit, there is no result. Everything will be altered. You could ruin your cure. 80% of the success of a dry fast is the exit. It is our trademark. We have studied the exit to be as well adapted as possible with a personal touch. There are people who will feed in a slightly different way. Intestinal membranes are vital. They repair, renew, and regenerate after a dry fast. Detox is maximal in a dry fast. Detoxification is also intracellular. The cleaning is the most important part. It occurs inside the cell. Every cell possesses its own maintenance teams. While we eat constantly, the priority is growth. During fasting, the priority shifts to the repair that follows the fast. This is the key. That's where we use autophagy. Cellular cleaning is the autophagosome, digesting oneself. It is the digestion of waste, of diseased tissues. It is a waste recycling program. Nobel Prize in Medicine, Japan. I no longer remember his name. The Nobel Prize from 2016. During the dry fast, cells start dismantling defective proteins. Autophagy, worn-out enzymes, useless and worn cellular fragments, aging mitochondria. The dry fast pushes all of that to occur 3 to 5 times more than a water fast. 1 day of dry fasting, 3 days of water fasting. We have more autophagy in dry fasting than water fasting. Why isn't dry fasting promoted? Why not do it? People have fears and beliefs. We're here with these videos to explain. You have testimonials. Everyone who comes to the cures, not everyone gives testimonials. A small sample, 10% give testimonials. You have people who come out feeling relatively fresh. If you look at other centers, particularly in Russia, when they finish their dry fasts, you see them very tired. Look at our testimonials. People come out feeling fresh. We have developed an exit strategy. We have activities conducive to the dry fast. It is our work that we have developed. I am not alone. We are a team capable of developing, researching dry fasting. We are on an evolutionary dry fasting mode. We are not based on a method that has not changed for 50 years. We are really trying to be able to evolve and move forward for the better. For detox, imagine a factory stopping for days to clean machines. It's a bit like that, which happens during a dry fast. The body will recycle its materials. Still usable, it eliminates what no longer works correctly. It is the maintenance service. That is why, for me, the dry fast is a therapy that should concern people in prevention. People who aren't sick, people in good health, we are not obliged to push them into very long dry fasts. Just 4 to 5 days is already a good dry fast, with good refeeding afterwards. You don't have to come to our cures to do 10 days of dry fasting. It doesn't make sense, especially the first time. We go crescendo without making it too hard. We have the benefits afterwards. Then we have the mitochondria and energy production. In our new preparation, we take into account the cardiac aspect and the mitochondrial aspect. We brought new things to the preparation in these sectors. There, I will not necessarily talk about it, but it aims to boost adenosine triphosphate ATP and the energy used by each of the cells. It is the famous ATP. When mitochondria age, you take on years of age, the less it becomes efficient. That is why you must renew your worn-out mitochondria. Fasting and autophagy you have in number one. You have physical activity, cold, heat, you have some mitophagy. If you take the example of the dry fast, you have 10 times more autophagy. Some religions have understood it. Ramadan is a month of dry fasting. There is a course done every year. There is also a period. If these traditions established that every year, it's not for a marketing effect, there are really benefits. I recommend one dry fast per year. It is what I do myself. Those who have pathologies, it is something else. There is a cumulative effect. Each case is personal, but one could also imagine 2 cures per year. It is quite possible with something personal. We cannot give numbers of days. It is not possible. The dry fast is very personalized. We evaluate these specificities day by day. We can't predict what will happen for a person. These mitochondria become less efficient over the years. Fatigue and inflammation increase. Aging accelerates. The dry fast will act as an energy audit. The least efficient mitochondria are recycled. The best are kept. The energy yield improves. After a dry fast, you have a regain of energy. You sleep 4 to 5 hours. You're at top physical level. It lasts about 5 to 6 months. If you have a diet that unbalances you again, you have to fast again. I would say 2 times per year for those who do not have an excellent lifestyle, to clean, to redo mitophagy. 2 cures a year would be ideal. You have a cell that becomes cleaner, more efficient. A more efficient cell produces more energy. Everything in your life improves. When you no longer have energy in your life, you have more ideas. Everything works better in your life. You are more creative and efficient. Everything in your life improves. Toxins are stored within the body's fat. Adipose tissue does not just store calories. It also serves as a storage zone for specific lipophilic molecules. Pesticides, solvents, persistent organic pollutants, and endocrine disruptors. The body keeps them away from vital organs. It is a protective mechanism. When dry fasting mobilizes fat reserves, some of these molecules can be gradually released. The liver and kidneys, our elimination systems, must do their work. This is why some people might feel temporary fatigue, headaches, body odors, or other transient symptoms. Dry fasting acts as a biological acceleration. It adds an additional adaptive stress. The body must handle both an absence of food and water. The organism activates well-known mechanisms. The mobilization of fat will increase. More lipolysis. You will have an intense, deep, rapid increase. Cellular adaptation becomes stronger. Metabolic water is created during dry fasting. When fats are burned, they produce energy, carbon dioxide, and CO2, and especially metabolic water. The body makes its own water. This water is fascinating and therapeutic. It is a mechanism. We see in desert animals, camels, and animals that remain turtles for many months without drinking. They possess the ability to create this type of metabolic water. Next, we have the brain aspect, mental clarity after a few days of fasting. Water fasting, I know it is powerful. You have a fuel change. We are no longer on glucose. After a few days of dry fasting, we are on beta. Oxidation, which makes beta-hydroxybutyrate, BHB, the famous fasting fuel. Ketone bodies become a stable energy source during the cure. This is the moment when many participants arrive at our cures. Increased concentration, better memory, and calm. You really have this calm that intervenes. They are cases that marked me more than others. We see people arrive with neuroses, a kind of aggressiveness inside them. When people finish the fast, we see how they are transformed. It is spectacular to observe. This confirms all the work of the psychiatrists who cured people with incurable psychiatric illnesses. I see the same results that he had back then. It is very impressive to see. Especially on people not taking medication, we have a spectacular effect. People who are on medication, it is more complicated to manage. There are highly addictive drugs that require prior withdrawal. We are not going to develop this chapter on medication. It is the aspect emotional transformation. The antidepressant effect of dry fasting is always with me. It is very impressive. Dry fasting stimulates BDNF, brain neurotrophic factor. It is that molecule that promotes brain plasticity, learning, memory, neuronal resilience. Scientists call it brain fertilizer, the fuel, the brain's precursor. When you are in this maximum increase, you will boost that. Dry fasting is very interesting, especially if you have neurological diseases that start a dry fast. You have just been diagnosed with a neurodegenerative disease, but it is a way You must launch yourself directly into this therapy. If you have holistic support, you provide the plants and medicinal mushrooms that correspond to your state. You have an interesting recovery at the first level. Detoxification is also mental and emotional. We talked about chemical toxins, but there also exist invisible toxins, stress, worries, tensions, and conflicts, internal emotional overloads. During the cure, the external noise decreases, the nervous system slows down. You have mental agitation that calms down. Many participants describe this state of being well. It is something that calls out for serenity. Emotions that can return. That is why we have workshops, emotional coaches in our cures to be able to discuss with you. You can talk about it before the group. That is why the workshops must have group cohesion. You cannot leave the fasters fasting in their own corner and wait for it to pass. If people have crises, they want to talk. It is good to leave a space to be able to let the thing come back up. There are people who do not wish to do emotional work. We don't push anyone. Tensions released during dry fasting. The goal of our work is to release people's nervous system, to listen to people, to be there for them. You have wounds that can be released, that can come out. Realizations arrive during dry fasting. That is why you need knowledge of these mechanisms. It is not just a physical fast. You must go further. It is our work. These realizations must emerge, and people need to understand their defense mechanisms, beliefs, and blockages. It is important to listen to that, and that the person has a possibility to be able to discharge that. We can propose group or private sessions, as we have both. A third possibility is therapeutic care, holistic therapists who listen. There is a third level of support. It is not a mechanical massage like the ones you see everywhere. The person is truly listening to you. There are specific movements that are designed to release tension in your fascia. Why do so many talk of joy and rebirth after dry fasting? That is what I experienced during a full 10-day dry fast. It was truly the word rebirth. I am once again a brand new person. They could have told me the worst news then. You feel so good inside, you feel so strong. Many describe a new energy arriving which is changing. Afterwards, not right away, but it still takes a week for sleep to regulate properly. A calmer mind, more motivation to undertake things in your life. You want to break barriers when you return, to move forward. A feeling of being truly very free in your life as well. There are people who come for the physical aspects, for weight, for a pathology, a detox, but it goes much further than all that. Why do we fast? Coming to a retreat is an investment and not an expense. Some people look at the price, that is clear. But if we think for a moment, we easily invest in cars, in phones, in computers, in vacations, and so on. But how much do we actually invest in our own health? we see few people want to work on their health. It is a shame, because if you are conscious about your health, you add years of life, especially years of life in good health. And taking drugs, as 95% of the population takes drugs, is not great. It brings negative side effects. There are 3 genes. It creates buildup of toxins while other natural solutions exist on the market. It is important to invest in your health, whether it be with food supplements, naturopathy, fasting, yoga, or whatever. But find something that really has a benefit for your health. So true wealth is not money, it is the energy you can have. Because without energy, you make no plans. It becomes complicated. Everything becomes much heavier. There is no more motivation. Quality of life drops. Without energy, you are tired all the time. When a person regains their energy, there is less inflammation. There is a better recovery, better vitality, etc. Your whole life improves. Taking care of health is global. A retreat is not just a few days of fasting. It is really about giving you tools to manage yourself. Some come once, then we don't see them. Good. They can do it themselves. If people want to come back to us, there is no problem. We have a structure that allows for dry fasting much more easily than being alone at home. It is more complicated, but some have no choice, cannot travel, have children, etc. Keep a rhythm. When you come to a retreat, you have knowledge given to you. You see other fasters doing it. It gives you a lot of confidence in the practice. Afterwards, you are safe enough to be able to reproduce it in a place in nature. Fasting acts on several levels. It is not just physical. It is metabolic, cellular, energetic, neurological, emotional. It activates repair and adaptation mechanisms. We do not promise any healing in dry fasting. Everyone does their dry fast at their own pace, in their own way. We do not have a magic wand. Everyone does it in their own way. And it doesn't replace a good lifestyle. It's important. We see people who eat very poorly and who come to do dry fasting to repair all their mistakes. It is not really the best strategy. The goal is to make changes, micro changes, to implement strategies that are possible later. Fasting can offer a break for yourself and for your life, an opportunity to slow down, to clean, to repair, and to regain a part of your vital and energetic potential. When energy returns, everything clears up. You have a much calmer mind. You move forward and it works in a very positive way. You have a lot of pride and joy to have succeeded in that. It is also something that brings me joy. When people leave the retreats we organize, we see a lot of joy for life. It is very beautiful to see. There, I have talked enough for today. See you soon. Bye-bye.